service announcement that we will be recording this session. Well, hello. Thank you for joining. My name is Ariel Gold. I am the Program Manager for Open Data at Amazon Web Services. I'm leading the Amazon Web Services efforts around the NOAA Big Data Project, and I'm really excited to be talking to you today about this initiative and to start to engage more broadly around this project and what Amazon Web Services is doing in the open data, big data space. As the invitation and the description of this information session described, the NOAA Big Data Project was announced recently, and as part of it, AWS has committed to enter into a research agreement with the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, to explore sustainable models to increase the output of open NOAA data. In this webinar, you'll learn more about the NOAA Big Data Project and how you can engage with AWS's Data Alliance. So today's session, there are two goals that we have. First is to just increase your understanding of this project, of the NOAA Big Data Project, and AWS's approach to the project. The second is to identify ways to engage with us now, with our Data Alliance now, as well as in the future as this project evolves. So I'm going to start with just some background around the NOAA Big Data Project. It will all be based on publicly available sources, but we understand that there's a lot of information out there, and it can be helpful to just do a level set. I'm then going to talk about the AWS Data Alliance and to give you some context on the AWS Data Alliance and our role in it. I'm going to start with a bit of introduction generally to open data on Amazon Web Services, as well as our public data sets program, because it gives a good set of context and framework for how we think about open data, big data, and these types of public-private partnerships. Then I will look at specifically at how you can engage, whether you're a data user who wants to use NOAA's data, or if you are a value-added service provider that develops products and services that leverages NOAA's data. We will have a question and answer Q&A session at the end, but please go ahead and type questions as a private chat to us, the organizers, at any point during the information session, and then we'll be teed up to answer them at the end. So without further ado, just one last bit on the audience. We are looking to get the word out and gear this session to anyone who's interested in NOAA data. You could be an individual, you could be representing a larger organization, you could be from government research, an entrepreneur, a large enterprise. We are going to stay at a relatively introductory level here, so we don't assume that you have particular technical expertise or knowledge of the project. We will be following up as the project evolves with more information as it's available, and we'll offer you ways to learn about those opportunities. So once again, we will be recording this session, and without further ado, let's begin. The value of NOAA data. Well, as many of you probably know, NOAA produces over 20 terabytes of data every day, and the small subset that they make available to the public already drives multi-billion-dollar industries and really critical research efforts. And we already see how this data is used in applications across many, many sectors. And it's used directly or indirectly in fields including weather and climate, as well as energy, agriculture, disaster resilience, insurance, aviation, logistics, et cetera, et cetera. And the data itself is collected from a vast array of sources, whether it's radar systems, weather satellites, buoy network stations, real-time, archival. We really can't anticipate all of the possible use cases for this data, but we know that there is tremendous value to be unlocked. So what is the NOAA Big Data Project? The goal here, as we understand it with NOAA and with our collaborators, is NOAA would like to identify sustainable ways to increase how much data they make open. They currently make open about 2 terabytes a day. They want to increase that to that potential of 20 terabytes a day. And they're particularly focused on driving new economic activity, but absolutely enabling new research and accelerating research outcomes is also part of the goal here. So what NOAA has decided to do is to look at the private sector incentives for getting access to this data and tap into those private sector incentives to increase how much NOAA data is available to the public. Now, the key here is that they've looked to commercial cloud platforms specifically as the place to push this data, and push this data using open standards and in a way that has no net new cost to the government. And this is the overall theoretical approach. And to assess the feasibility of this model, NOAA has turned to infrastructure as a service providers, Amazon Web Services being one of them. And as part of that agreement, we are encouraged to form what they've called data alliances. And these data alliances include both end users of NOAA's data, current or future, as well as value-added service providers who use the data. So the one last thing I want to cover here before going on is we get the question a lot, and we ask NOAA as well, why a CRADA? Why do this research agreement approach? And the idea here is that the participating infrastructure as a service providers, as well as our collaborators through the data alliances, can work more closely with NOAA than typically would be possible. We can get access to more data and information and engage in collaborative experimentation to figure out exactly how this model could work. And this allows us to understand and assess potential data to make available publicly, to look at ways to develop new extraction interfaces to push data from within NOAA's firewall to outside to the public, to develop value-added services, and ultimately, once again, getting back to that goal, determining whether there is a viable, sustainable business case for making data available under this model. So that gets us to where we are now. First, the NOAA Big Data Project was announced. You can see the announcements that came out from the Secretary of Commerce in a press release and in a speech. And NOAA launched a web page that gives some information on the project, as well as linking to the anchor companies that are leading these data alliances that sign these research agreements with them. And the links are there, and you can also find them just by searching online. At the same time, on that same day, AWS also announced our participation in the agreement in the Big Data Project. And as part of our announcement, as you may have seen, we referenced our public data sets program. The public data sets is something that I'm going to talk about a little bit in just a little bit. And as I said at the outset of this session, it's important for us to look at the public data sets program, because it's really a framework in a way that we've learned over the years some of the ingredients for success when we embark on these types of public-private partnerships that are aimed at getting more data out in the public and to drive more innovation. We launched a web page on April 21st as well. Many of you probably saw it and learned about this webinar through the web page. We encourage everybody to sign up on the interest form so you can make sure to learn about new information regarding the Big Data Project in our Alliance in the future. So before I go into some more detail on the AWS Data Alliance and the NOAA Big Data Project specifically, once again, I'd like to just give you some context on open data on AWS writ large and how we think about it. So open data, we use a very broad definition of open data. Open data is data that can be used by anyone for any purpose for free. There's lots of nuances and different policies out there, but that's the basic. And what we find is that many of our customers, including Esri, the weather company, Planet OS, and many, many others, rely on quality open data just as much as they rely on our computing, storage, and other web services. And as you may know, Amazon Web Services really prioritizes our product roadmap and everything we do based on input from our customers. And so this is why we care about open data, because our customers care about it. And we want to make it as easy as possible for customers to share and use data on our platform. And really importantly also to look across our customer base and connect the folks who have data and want to share it with the folks who want to use that data. So the data providers and the data users and vice versa. And that's a role that we play frequently. So AWS, just from a technology perspective, we do provide a comprehensive toolkit for gathering, storing, analyzing, and working with data at any scale. You can see here some of the products we have: Amazon Simple Storage Service, Amazon Elastic MapReduce, and DynamoDB, which are examples of these services that help with sharing and using and analyzing and deriving value from data. And we do work with our product teams and technology teams to demonstrate how these services can help with opening and using data at any scale. And when it comes to open data, when it comes to the goals that our customers have around sharing data, when you make data open on AWS, it really enables more innovation. And that's because it makes the data available for really rapid access to all of our flexible, low-cost computing resources. So just think about it. It's low latency. It's a low barrier to entry. You've got the data stored right where the tools are for people to use the data. And so there's more innovation, more rapid experimentation, and access to those end products. That's the goal of opening up data. And when we look at something like the NOAA Big Data Project and our public data sets, it's not just our direct services that data is more closely available to. It's our ecosystem as well. We've got a really, really robust ecosystem of partners, companies, customers that provide really outstanding products and services that leverage this data and help you do even more with it. So making data available on AWS brings it closer to the people who want to use it and the tools they need in order to do things with the data. So the last bit of background and context that I want to give is around our public data sets. Some of you may be familiar with the public data sets, and in case you're not, just this is a selection of data sets that we make available for anyone to access for free on our platform. And just like the model around the open data on AWS that I just shared, it makes that data available very close and easy to access with our computing resources. We have data from a range of sectors, including life sciences, our 1,000 Genomes Project, earth sciences with an open NASA Earth Exchange, open NEX, and internet science with the Common Crawl corpus. And we make this data available to help build communities and tools around the data. And this data, with that model, can really move markets. It can accelerate research. It can improve people's lives. And so we work with data providers to find data that fits this model that can really drive impact. And we've been doing this for a while, and we've been learning along the way about what works. What are some key success factors for not just getting data out there, but actually driving use of the data to really change the game in a variety of sectors. And so before we talk more about the NOAA Big Data Project, I'm going to share a specific example, a recent example of our public data sets, which is really a framework that we're going to leverage as we move forward with the NOAA Big Data Project. Landsat on AWS. The Landsat program, for those who aren't familiar, it's a joint effort between USGS and NASA. It's the longest running program to gather Earth imagery from space and considered really the gold standard for natural resources satellite imagery. The Landsat program actually collects imagery from the entire Earth's surface every 16 days. So in 16 days or less, you're going to see a fresh picture of any particular part of the Earth. And it has an archive going back several decades. So it's a really, really rich and powerful data source. Traditionally, it's been pretty time-consuming and expensive to acquire, store, analyze Landsat data. USGS decided to make it publicly available about a decade ago, but still, there were high barriers to using the data. Landsat really is big open data. So when you think about the NOAA Big Data Project and the size of those data sets, Landsat data is on a similar scale. So what have we done? We've committed to making up to 1 petabyte of Landsat images readily available as objects on Amazon S3 through our public data sets program. And by doing this, this allows the data to be accessed programmatically via RESTful interface and quickly deployed to any of our products for analysis and processing. And now, truly anybody can analyze Landsat data at web scale. And they don't have to put in a significant upfront investment of time or capital expense. They don't need to be engineering experts and figure out esoteric data formats. And by lowering the barriers to this data, we're seeing some really cool results already. At the time of launch, Development Seed, Esri, MathWorks, Mapbox, and Planet Labs, some of our customers jump-started the ecosystem around this data. They were beta users, and they incorporated the Landsat data into a variety of demonstrations and applications. And I really encourage you to look at the announcements that we had around this data launch to see examples of those products. And then less than 48 hours after we released this data, along with this really great documentation, examples of its use in real-world context, the data was already used to produce a proof of concept at a mining industry hackathon in Australia. And this was something we were really excited to just learn about on Twitter. We didn't even know that this was happening, and our customers let us know, and that was pretty exciting. And then just a couple of weeks after launch, there was a team of novice programming students from Code Fellows, and they were able to create a really sophisticated tool to analyze Landsat imagery. And what's really cool about this one is that those coders, they had only learned to code just a couple weeks beforehand. So that just goes to show how making this type of web-scale data available in a very programmer-friendly way, with context, with the documentation, with the right tools, can really lower barriers to its use and enable innovation. All right, without further ado, let's get to the AWS Data Alliance with that context. So the AWS Data Alliance, the NOAA Big Data Project, as I said before, we announced this on April 21st alongside the announcement of the project. And what I'm going to take a few minutes now to do is to talk about AWS's approach, how we think about this, how we translate this, this research project into a workable model, and how we're going to be approaching it. First of all, there are really three categories of engagement, or 3 types of users or engagement that we're looking at when we look at potential organizations and individuals engaging with their data alliance. We know that many current and potential customers from the public and commercial sectors of our customer base are interested in participating, and anyone can become a member by just signing up to receive project updates. If you haven't done so already, please do sign up on our webpage, aws.amazon.com/NOAA-Big-Data. So there are 3 not mutually exclusive roles that you can play, and I'll go through them right now. First is end users, second is value-added service providers, and the third are data extraction collaborators. So end users. These are, it's just as simple as it sounds. These are people and organizations that currently use NOAA's data or want to use NOAA's data. We want to start with the end user and work back from that when determining our requirements for this project. The end users are going to help us prioritize which data we investigate. We want to know what's valuable and what's interesting. Once we've down selected to some potential data sets, we'll also look to end users to help us define format requirements, data structure, so that when we release the data, it's in a way that people can really easily use it, similar to how we approached our Landsat on AWS project. Also similar to the Landsat project, we're going to look to end users to serve as beta users for the data. We want folks to be using the data, give us feedback on it before we do a really big global launch. For some folks, if you, during the beta phase, develop some really cool demonstration or want to talk about your experience, we would love to have you participate in our launch activities, whether it's doing a blog post or giving or posting a web page around your efforts. And then, of course, after we've launched the data, we really want you to use it. We want you to use it for whatever purpose you have, whether you're a researcher, a member of a government agency, an entrepreneur, or part of a large company. Now, in addition to end users, we have, as I said, a really robust set of partners in our ecosystem. And those partners often rely on open data to create paid or free services. We want to engage value-added service providers to use the data that we make available via the NOAA Big Data Project. And we want to market and make available and help you to market the services that you develop, either based on the NOAA data or the services that you upgrade and add new functionality to via this project. And then, of course, our value-added service providers are very important customer voices when prioritizing data, helping define format and structure, and all of those other things that I talked about as part of the end user role. Now, the last category or role as part of our data alliance is the one that's just a little bit more particular to this project. And those are the data extraction collaborators. We will be working through this research agreement on getting data that currently resides in NOAA's firewalls, pushing it out to the public cloud, and then making it available in a really well-documented, maintained way so that those value-added service providers and end users can use it rapidly to do what they want to do. And so we are looking to a smaller set of customers to help us with designing the data extraction interfaces to push that data out to AWS, to then also help to manage the public data on AWS. This is also very similar to our Landsat model, where those partners, those collaborators that I mentioned, including Planet Labs and Esri and Mapbox, have helped to develop the processes to push the data from USGS's servers out to AWS, as well as to manage the public data set for public access. So data extraction collaborators will be asked to play a similar role to a data provider in a public data sets program, in addition to helping us to design and work with NOAA on implementing extraction interfaces to push the data out. And then, of course, as well, playing that end user role, helping to actually prioritize the data, define its structure, service beta users, help launch the data, and ultimately use it once it's available. Now, one last thing, for the end users and the value-added service providers, as I said before, this can be anybody. There's no special terms you have to sign up for. We just want you to express your interest, and then we'll know to engage you as the program evolves, as this project evolves. The data extraction collaborators we do ask them to find terms and conditions specific to the NOAA Big Data Project, and there will be a limited number of data extraction collaborators. Everybody else can participate under the terms of their customer agreement with AWS and any other terms governing your use of AWS or participation in our programs. Now, to scale our efforts, one of the things we are going to do behind the scenes as part of this project is help members of the AWS Data Alliance tap into our ecosystem, the AWS ecosystem, whether it's other partners and helping to make connections between different collaborators, or the programs that we have available already to assist with our partners. So this includes AWS research grants, our Amazon Partner Network, as well as our AWS Marketplace. As you can see here, as an example, the AWS Marketplace offers value-added service providers a really powerful channel to market and distribute software solutions that are optimized for AWS. And for end users, it's a one-stop shop to browse products that can help you use data on AWS. So this is just an example of a program that we have here at AWS that we'll tap into when we look at ways to push out products and services that our partners develop using data that's made available via the NOAA Big Data Project. In terms of our approach, I'm going to stay a little bit high level here because it is early days, but I want to give you a sense for how we're thinking about our approach with the NOAA Big Data Project and what you can expect to see as the project evolves. So first, we're looking at an upfront research period. And during this research period, our goal is to scope out potential proof of concept projects. So specific data that we believe has end user demand and will be valuable to end users if we make it available. To hit the ground running, we've already seeded our data alliance with a preliminary set of collaborators. And these are folks who have agreed to be data extraction collaborators, that role that I described a moment ago. And those are the weather company, ASRI, and Planet OS. And we're going to be working with these customers in NOAA during the research period to assess potential data sets, phase and scope out data extraction interfaces, and to push that data from NOAA servers to AWS. And right now, during this research period, even though we're already working with those 3 customers, we really want to hear from you, from everybody else. What data do you want? What data is valuable to you? The easiest way to do this is to respond to surveys. If you have let us know already via the web page that you're interested in the NOAA Big Data Project, we'll reach out to you and ask you about specific data sets or for you to just tell us what you're interested in. It can be specific, it can be general areas of interest. I've put on the slide here just some sample survey language so you know what the kind of request that I'm talking about. We are assessing potential end user interest in gaining programmatic access to the data listed below. Are you interested in any of these data? If yes, can we set up a call to discuss with relevant members of your team? We'd like to understand potential use cases and requirements for making them widely accessible. So the reason why I wanted to share that with you is I don't want it to be intimidating, this idea that we're going to send out really long surveys. We really just want to start a dialogue to understand what's valuable, where we should be focusing, and if we are looking at similar areas and similar data sets, at that point we'd like to get into deeper discussions to understand where we should be focusing. So as I said, we're currently in the upfront research period. We're already working behind the scenes with NOAA, with our preliminary set of collaborators to assess potential projects. If we decide to proceed with a proof of concept during this research phase, one or more of our collaborators will work with us to get the data extraction in place, push the data out to AWS, and make it available. And once again, to get a sense for what this looks like, I really encourage you to look at our public data sets. And so during that proof of concept phase, if we launch the data publicly, we'll start to build out an ecosystem. Landsat is really a fantastic example. If that goes well, if we're able to prove out this sustainable model for making data available via the CRADA, via this research approach, we would like to scale. We would like to launch more data publicly, build out the ecosystem around it. And we can share a bit more detail. We do have some more detail behind the scenes. We can share a little bit more detail about specific timeline, the short list of data sets that we're currently considering for the proof of concept phase with any of you, with members of the Data Alliance, upon request and under NDA. So just let us know if you would like to get into some more details, and we're very happy to follow up and have a conversation. But once again, the most immediate way that we would like you to get involved, that's easiest for you to get involved, is to help us identify data sets to focus on during our short upfront research period. And as this evolves, we want to hear from you early and often to understand what data is valuable, how you would use it to help us prioritize our efforts. And with that, please do continue to put questions into the private chat so that we can address some of your questions. But to get it started, I wanted to share some of these frequently asked questions that you might have on your mind. So I think I mentioned this already. How will you select the data that is made available? The answer is we're going to prioritize data based on end user input. Another frequently asked question is, how can I request data to be made available? The easiest way is to submit an inquiry via our web page, the NOAA Big Data web page that we've set up. You can also just email me directly. I'll have my email up at the end again. When will you make data available? How much data will you make available? What data will you make available, et cetera, et cetera? As I said on the previous slide, we're going to be taking a phased and really iterative approach to the research. We're moving as quickly as we can to scope out potential projects. And the best way you can find out about projects that we're taking on and other information about this project is to sign up to receive updates via the web page. Two other questions here that is top of mind for a lot of folks, and certainly something that we're thinking about. First of all, how does AWS make money through this model? It's very similar to our public data sets. We make data available at no cost to end users by storing it in services like S3. And when a customer chooses to use that data and chooses to use our services to process that data, it's just normal paid usage as they would do with any other use of AWS. And so it's via that model that really valuable data available on AWS can be a sustainable business model for AWS. And then for those of you who are value-added service providers, how do value-added service providers make money through this model? And I mean, bottom line, the NOAA data is complex, really complex stuff. And so many end users aren't able to use it on their own, and they're going to choose to pay for services that help them use the data. or services that incorporate the data into consumer products. And you can see the multi-billion-dollar industries that have already been built up around NOAA's data, whether it's the weather industry or insurance or others, that prove out the viability of this model under the right circumstances. Now, one last thing I want to say before opening up to questions and answers to the Q&A period. Just wanted to say that we do aim to be transparent and collaborative in our approach through the NOAA Big Data Project and through our efforts here. But in the early days, we're going to be moving quickly, and we may be slow to respond if you reach out with individual requests or requests for meetings and one-on-ones. We will push out as much information as we can to folks who sign up to the webpage, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can when you have individual requests. We're just getting started, and we're moving quickly. So just wanted to make sure that you have a way to get in touch with us as this evolves. So I'm going to take a look at what questions have come in via the chat window, and please continue to submit questions. Okay, so first question is asking about what is meant by new data extraction interfaces. So simply put, this is just as an abstract concept, just how we get the data from within NOAA's firewall to outside of NOAA's firewall, so that the infrastructure as a service providers who have signed this research agreement can then pick up that data and push it to the cloud and make it broadly available to the public. There are different technologies that could be involved in this, and it might be specific to specific data sets. And that's why we've gathered a really smart group of collaborators to help us scope this out and figure out what needs to be done along with NOAA. All right, so we have a question about the fact that there are several CRADA teams, there are several anchor partners, and how do they differ in objective, scope, or focus? I can't speak to the specific strategy or focus of the other anchor partners and other data alliances. Everybody will be making their own information available about what their plans are under the CRADA. We do interact, we do have a way to interact with each other, the different anchor companies and the different data alliances, but we're going to be focused as AWS on building out our approach and building out our focus areas. And as we enter into this, we do see the entire scope of NOAA's data and all the use cases as being on the table, but we will choose to focus based on customer demand and what we hear from end users. All right, we have a question about data formats. Is Amazon planning on translating the data from NOAA's formats, such as HDF, NET, CDF, to something more usable, such as GeoTIFF? Well, we are looking to the end users to help us understand what data formats and structures are actually usable. And so it's going to be dependent on the data set and on what we hear from folks as we scope out these projects. Translation of data into different formats is absolutely on the table. It just depends on what makes sense for particular data sets. So we have a question about NSF Geosciences. So NSF Geosciences has a large effort called EarthCube that has overlap with this effort. Have we talked with the EarthCube folks? and have we talked with unit data and some others. So it's basically questions about how we're collaborating with other efforts that are related here. We are aware of and talking with some other folks who are already doing this type of work with NOAA's data, and I would love to hear additional ideas for folks that we should be reaching out to. We can't possibly know all of the current uses of this data, so please just keep letting us know as things occur to you that could be connections we could make where similar efforts are already underway, so we can figure out how to work together. Another question is about whether we'll be making public the names of people who are expressing interest in the project. As of now, no, we're not going to be, well, not as of now. So we're not planning to publicize the names of people who have signed up on our web page. We've not created an expectation that by signing up on our web page that names will be made public. As we have collaborators participating in this effort, if they want their participation to be made known, we will find ways to talk about the collaboration and the contributions that different customers are making to the project. Okay, so there's a question about the roadmap and understanding if you request data, if you have priorities that you express, and it's slated as a project for a future phase as opposed to, is AWS going to be sharing a roadmap so that you can plan around when the data will be available? That is something we would like to do in the future. Ultimately, we want to treat these types of data sets, not just NOAA Big Data Project, but our public data sets writ large, as something that's a product, a service that you can look to and build really fantastic applications around and do research around. So we want to be transparent about that. We need to get started, and so we need to work iteratively in the early days. But if we're able to share that in the future, that is something that we aim to do. Okay, so we have a question about contractors who work with NOAA and whether there will be, we will be contracting out to third parties to do some of this data extraction work. So if we'll be compensating data extraction collaborators for working on this. As of now, we're looking to our public data set model where data providers or data extraction collaborators will work with AWS in a partnership model, not as a paid model. AWS does cover the storage and egress and distribution costs of the data, and we look to our data collaborators to help with the data extraction work and pushing the data to AWS. Now, when NOAA decides to implement any of these data extraction interfaces, that's up to them on how they want to do that work, whether it's NOAA FTEs or contracted resources. So as of now, that's the planned model. So we're going to do a last call for any last questions before wrapping up for today. All right, thank you everybody for joining. Once again, my name is Ariel Gold. I'm the Program Manager for Open Data here at AWS. I am the POC and lead for this project, working with NOAA and our collaborators. Feel free to reach out to me directly, arigold@amazon.com, if you have any questions. And I do encourage you to sign up to receive updates from the Data Alliance via our webpage. And really look forward to hearing from you. We want to know what's important and where we should be focusing, and look forward to working with you in the months ahead. Thank you.